You may plan as well or as much as you wish. You may plan as much as you wish, but you cannot control what you do. If you want to control everything that you do, I foresee for you a very boring career, because the desire to control means the desire not to be surprised. And I think that the most stimulating thing in our career are the stimulus that you face along your path, that very, very often take you out of your path. In your career, you face many challenges. Your management of career is to pick up those challenges that you accept or not. This is how you manage your career. And considering the trade-offs of the different challenges that you're presented. If you did a PhD, it's because you're passionate for something. And I suggest that you follow your passion with all the rigor that your PhD should have provided you. A PhD is more than a PhD. A PhD is not simply a title. It's a way of thinking, a way of acting, a way of actually behaving when you face your passion. PhD gives you the methodology, the awareness, the discipline to face your big challenges. That's what a PhD should have given you, the depth of that knowledge, the depth of that discipline. I think that what you have to do with your PhD is to make the best use of that depth of knowledge. You may work with that in a corporation, in an organization, in a higher education institution. You can devote yourself to whatever you want to do. I don't think there is a track. The traditional track is you do a PhD, you become a professor. Okay? You go to university. I think that in our world nowadays, I think that's no longer true. A PhD may find different ways of contributing to society beyond the ivory tower of the university. And the universities nowadays are no longer what they used to be as well. So they are no longer this black box where you keep your wise people that know so many things about almost everything away from the common people in society. Actually, universities nowadays are much more open, or should be much more open to society and more aware of their impact and the impact of the knowledge and the technology that they generate to the societies where they are inserted. So I think that as a PhD graduate, you should have the notion of your responsibility, or the responsibility of your knowledge face-to-face to society, and you should think about the best possible way of using that knowledge. It can be in a university, but not necessarily. Physics was really from the beginning what really attracted me and actually answered my eagerness to answer my questions, my curiosity, and face whatever the world was presenting to me and I couldn't understand. And I think that's the main motivation of a researcher, is to be moved by the natural curiosity about whatever surrounds him or her. I was then very happy with my choice. I was at a fantastic university, São Paulo University, developing my studies. I was a bright student, but I was living close to Paulista Avenue, very close to where Getúlio Vargas Foundation was. And I wanted a car from my father. I wanted him to finance me a car because at 18, you want to drive. So I said, I tried to blackmail, that's so bad. I tried to blackmail my parents, and I said, look, if you give me a car, I can also enroll in management studies at São Paulo University, because that would be at night, to be consistent with the daily studies of physics. And my dad was a very nice guy, but very strict. He said, if you want to follow management, that's fine for me. I don't mind paying you the university, but I won't give you a car because it's too dangerous. São Paulo is dangerous. So the solution for that was that I didn't go to São Paulo University for management, but I entered Getúlio Vargas Foundation just close to home, and I graduated simultaneously in management and in physics. By the time that I graduated in physics, I was still a student in the undergrad in management. But my parents were coming back to Portugal. So the only way I had to finance myself while I was staying another year in São Paulo was by entering a master's program with a scholarship from FAPESP. And so I did. I entered the master's program with the most amazing guidance that I could ever find, and that showed me how important the role of a supervisor, a good supervisor, can be. A very cultivated physicist, a very international-minded person that used to go every summer to California to teach for that period of time. And I worked with him during my master's in physics that ended up to develop into a PhD in mathematical physics, statistical mechanics, disordered systems, equilibrium disordered systems. That's what I did, essentially. But at the time I had this degree in management. And when I finished my degree in physics, my PhD, I got a Brazilian scholarship to go for a postdoc. And I chose to go back to Europe because my parents were back in Europe. So I did go to Heidelberg University for a postdoc in mathematical physics with Professor Leo van Hemmen in the Institut für Angewandte Mathematik. And I was there for 1 year, but I had to cut that scholarship in the middle because my advisor at Heidelberg was moving to Munich. I had offers from Oxford and from Lausanne, but I decided actually to accept an invitation, a very strange invitation that I got from the Portuguese Dean of INSEAD, António Borges, to start their very first PhD batch of students in finance. So I joined INSEAD, the top business school in Europe at the time, now it's NOVA of course, to actually pursue a PhD, a second one, but in finance, in the area of management. And so I did. When I finished those things, I had 3 offers. One to go to the Netherlands, another one to go to Hong Kong, and then I want to come to Portugal, to NOVA. And because my parents were here, because I've been too long away from Portugal, personal reasons, and I didn't find that Netherlands would have any advantage as compared to coming back to Portugal, to be very honest, or going to Hong Kong would be, professionally challenging, but again, it would be too far away from Europe, and I had sufficient of that in my life, so I decided to come back to Portugal and to where I had friends, family, and this amazing institution that was generous enough to invite me back. And I was accepted as a faculty member at the School of Business and Economics at NOVA. And there I started something different. Because from the very beginning of my entrance at the NOVA School of Business and Economics, I was charged, as opposed to their initial intention, of developing the undergraduate program in management in '95 that they didn't have. I was then, once we developed that in a very unique and original way with a large success, I have to say, I was then asked to, a couple of years later, to become Associate Dean of the school under the deanship of José Ferreira Machado and take care of the international development of the school. If you are scared of what may go wrong with the development of your ideas, you risk to become simply paralyzed with respect to those initiatives. So that is very important for me in order to look backwards in what I have done. Given the success of that story, I was invited by Vice Rector at the time, currently Rector Professor João Amaro, to take his position. He was responsible for international development of NOVA University at the university level. And I came from mathematical physics to doing this through a path that was based on my interdisciplinary background as a scientist, but also based on my cross-cultural exposure during all that time of training, growth, and enduring.